Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, what I'm going to be showing you through today is our assignment Introduction to TinkerCad. Now, TinkerCad is a software that's designed from grades 6 to 9. It is a great way to learn how to use 3D software, as honestly, it's about as hard as Lego, because that seems to be the principle of this particular software. So, first step, quite simply, is we're going to sign in. Now, make sure you hit the sign in, not the login, because as long as you use your Gedu account, you already have everything already logged in and you don't have to worry about it. So we hit the sign in button, and then make sure you hit the sign in with Google button. If you use any of these other buttons, it will cause problems. Basically, you won't be able to get in easily. So we hit sign in with Google, and then you type in your Gedu account. Now, for you, ladies and gentlemen, you would use your first name dot last name at gedu.sd73.bc.ca. So to use my account, then you just use your regular Gedu password, if I can remember mine. Now, as I've used this software previously, as you can see, I have a bunch of different projects and stuff I've showed over the time. You guys will be brought in to tutorials. Now, how it's going to look is you're going to have a screen that looks something like this, but on the left hand side, there's going to be instructions. What you're going to want to do is go through the first 3 tutorials, and don't use this right side unless it tells you on the left. There's going to be a list of instructions. Once you're done the 3 tutorials, you're going to click this dashboard icon up here, and then you're going to hit create new design. The first step you're going to do is put your name and the assignment 1 through 12, or in the case to get proficient, 1 through 8. I do challenge you to do 1 through 12. Okay? So, as you guys have probably already grabbed the laminated sheet that you might be honestly sick of seeing, the reason we're using the same shapes is you guys, let's be honest, know the shapes at this point. And so instead of me having to worry about you trying to figure out the shapes, we can just worry on the process over that. If you don't want to have a piece of paper in front of you, you can go to shopofleclaire.ca, and just like if you were sick home, you can go to the TechEd 7 button, which you've probably already seen here, Introduction to CAD, and I've already placed up a copy of the worksheet right there. And so just to keep this in mind, okay? So if you want to do this at home, you have the sheet access at all times. Let's go back there. So we're going to call this Leclaire 1 through 8, because as you guys have probably seen, that is the bare minimum that you guys have to do today. So the first step we have to do is set up the grid. So what you have to do here is just go to Edit Grid, and what we want to do is edit these 2 dimensions. Now, the big thing to keep in mind is these dimensions are in millimeters. So this is 20 centimeters or 200 millimeters by 20 centimeters or 200 millimeters. So we're going to edit that. And what I've found is 500 millimeters by 500 millimeters works well, if my keyboard would work right now. And then we're going to change this to 500. Now, if you had a fancy 3D printer that you can go in there, for our case, we're just going to use generic millimeters. Now, you can use inches or bricks, which would be if you're into Minecraft, but we're going to stick with millimeters in our case because that'll work nicely. We're then going to hit Update Grid, and what that's going to do is create a bigger grid for you to draw on. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. Now, the first video you saw kind of gives some basic directions and all this. I'm going to show you some other ones. If you need to change the camera angle, over here on the left hand side, there's a block. You can touch the corner you want to see, and that'll give you the view that you need to do. Now, all those fancy drawings we did earlier in isometric and orthographic has kind of taught you how to see the drawing here. So if you need to see the top view, you've got the top view. If you need to see the front view, you can do that. If you need to see the isometric view, your 3D perspective, you can hit the corner here, and that'll give you a full isometric drawing or view of this angle. So in my case, I'm going to go onto a front kind of like 2D view, I guess, so we can see the top and front view. And then I'm going to look at number 1. Now, number 1 is a basic rectangle. The big thing is with this assignment, you have to draw them in size or a 1-to-1 perspective. Now, your drawings are in the grid here. Now, in the previous assignments, I told you guys just count the boxes. As you guys know, we have up 6, over 9, over 6, up. So we're going to be drawing this rectangle right here. Now, if we look over here, we have the preset shapes. Now, we have these 2 gray ones, which I'll go into later, but the one we have to focus on now are the ones in color. To do all these assignments, you only have to worry about these first 2 gray, which I'll cover later, and then these next 2 colored objects. We've got the red box here and the circular cylinder or orange there, and then later on we're going to be looking at this wedge. So as number 1 is just a basic rectangle, I'm going to click on the box, drag it out, and just like the way we set up our paper with the last assignment, I'm going to put it in this corner. So just imagine this whole page, because we're just going to go down assignment by assignment. So as you can see, once I pulled it out, it pulls out this menu right here. Now we have 2 ways to add the dimensions. We can either stretch it by hand using these white boxes, which is not my preferred method, or we can go over here and type in the measurements. Now, in referring back to here, we know the height is 6, the width is 6, and the length is 9 boxes. Now, seeing as this assignment is millimeters and this sheet is, we're going to say in centimeters, so we have a 9 centimeter long, 6 centimeter wide, and 6 centimeter tall. In our case, these are millimeters. Pretty easy to convert, we just have to add a 0. The length is 90 millimeters. So we're just going to fix that little mistake. That was a weird glitch there. So anytime you make a mistake, honestly, good that you saw that. Just I found it's easier to delete and start over than it is to actually like fix it sometimes. So I'm going to pull out the brick here. I'm going to add my measurements. Length 90, width 60, and the height 60. So the way I got to that 90, 60, 60, quite simple. It's 9 boxes long, so 9 centimeters or 90 millimeters. It is 6 centimeters, 6 boxes, 6 centimeters, 60 millimeters wide. And then it is 6 boxes, 6 centimeters, 60 millimeters high. Okay, there's number 1. Now, to make sure it works and so it doesn't, you don't accidentally move it, delete it, and all this, what we're going to do is go up here and see this lock. As soon as I press the lock button, I'm unable to move it, delete it, you name it, it's done. Okay, we can forget about it. Okay, so as far as we're concerned, that is the answer for number 1. Now, let's refer to number 2. Now, we're going to use what's called the Lego method. The Lego method means I'm going to draw this first bottom piece, then I'm going to create a second block to stack on top it. Now, if any of you have played Minecraft, you're already experts on this, and this assignment should be an absolute breeze for you. So I'm going to refer back over here. Now, I'm going to, again, pull out my box, and I'm going to place it. And then I'm going to, so we know my length is still the same at 90. So the 9 boxes, 90 long. The width, because the bottom is still the full length, is 60. Now, where it differs is we have to count up the height. 1, 2, 3, up. So I'm going to change the height to 3 boxes, 3 centimeters, or 30 centimeters. Then I'm going to place, now I'm going to move it into place. Now, the way to move it is you want to put your mouse so you're not touching any of these black or white boxes, and then place it in. Now, if you don't like the camera angle, we can change the camera angle here, and so I can see a little better. Okay, I'm done with that bottom piece. Now, what I'm going to do is pull out a second box, and I'm going to place it close. Now, if we look at this drawing, because we're only drawing, see this line right here, so if I cut it in half, we're 3 high. Now, we're 1, 2, 3 long, and 6 wide. So, length, 3, width, 6 boxes, 60 millimeters, height, 3. Okay, now that doesn't really help us too much. So what we have to do here is we have to lift it up. Now, what I'm going to do here is see this little arrow pointing up. That is the up. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to start pulling it up. But then instead of pulling it up, now we know the top of this is 30 millimeters. So I'm going to change it to 30. Then what I'm going to do is change the view. In reality, I'm going to do top. Now, if you don't like this view here, we can actually fit in where we want to go. And then instead of using the mouse, I'm actually going to use the arrows, just because I find that easier to place when it comes to fine blocks. Okay, there we go. And we just line it right up. Nice and easy. Now, if we look at number 2, we're missing one last piece. Now, as we can see here, it is 2 blocks from this side, 2 blocks from this side, 1 block from there, and it's 2. Now, I'm going to give you a small break, and I'm going to let you place it, because the more important part is being able to cut this in. So, before I was only using the color blocks, this is where the gray blocks come in. The gray blocks are your cutting tools. So, what I'm going to do is take the gray cylinder, and I'm going to place it outside of the object. Now, that is important because what that can do is, as this object is smaller than our original one, it can get lost, and I've seen many students turn number 2 into Swiss cheese until they figure it out. So, what I'm going to do here is actually just going to randomly, because as long and elongate it, oops, I'm going to make this bigger right here. Okay, now the whole point of this is if I move this in here, we can still see the object. So, just because I'm a little picky on this, what I'm going to do here is I've set this up so it's in the corner, so I can now set this into this, because it tells me this how far away. So I've got 20 over, then I want to be 10 back. And then, just by luck's has it, with this particular circle, the measurements are the exact dimensions as the drawing, so you don't have to make any changes. Now, what we have here is our 3 objects that we need to create this, but we are not done, as we want to actually have the project come to life and be one piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the top view, and then I'm going to click on one object. I'm going to go over here, and so I'm looking straight down. I'm then going to drag my mouse over, and we have all the buttons here. It says we have 3 shapes. And then what we're going to do is go up here and hit the group button. Now what that'll do is take all the pieces you've drawn and turn it into one solid object. Now that I have one solid object, I'm going to lock it. And that is number 2. Super easy. Now, I'm going to show you one more just to have an angle in it, because we're going to do number 6 now, as number 6 has seemed to be the kryptonite for most students when it comes to this software. So, the first step I'm going to do, because I'm going to break this up into 4 objects, actually 5 if I could count today. We've got the bottom piece, we've got this wedge angle piece, and then we've got the 3 corners. So I'm going to take my bottom wedge, and we can see we've got the same 9, 6, but it's up 1. So we're going to do length 9 blocks, 9, and then we're going to go 6, and then I'm going to do 10. Okay, I'm going to move this into place. I'm going to boom. Now, the first thing I will start with is the wedge. Now, the wedge is a little different. As you see, pulling it off, it does not have the numbers to type in. And it's also in the wrong angle. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn it we're going to go to 90 degrees. Okay. Now, we're now there. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to put it to dimension. So, we're going to look over here and we're going to count. So, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4 back. And then 6 minus 1. Because it's total height is 6 minus the 1 layer. So we are going to do, it is 40, and then we have 50 wide, and then I need to make it 50 high. So that gives us that. Now, another nice little easy thing here is if you look on the bottom here, these grids are each 10 millimeters. So to place it, all I'm going to do is follow the grid. And we're going to go. So we've placed the grid here, and then I'm going to go up 10 millimeters and place this in. So the next step is quite simple. I'm going to bring this right, bring the blocks here, and then length will be, oh, I guess the length would be 20 on that one. And then we're going to go with I'm going to cheat and not erase it, but what I am going to do now is just use my keyboard to place it. Now, if you don't want to have to type the numbers in more than once, there's a little trick. All you have to do is click the object, go Control C, click somewhere else, Control V, and that'll create a second one. I'm then just going to place this one in there. And then, to finish off this object, I'm going to take the last one, and all I'm going to do this time is just take the measurements and copy them. So I'm just going to go up to 60 right there. I'm then going to go to 51 and 20, and there we are. And then I'm just going to take the key and give the final dimensions. And voila, we have number 6. And of course, our last step here is to highlight all the objects. We have 5 shapes and hit the group button. And as you can see here, we have number 6. The biggest thing I found with this software is you guys are much better at it than me, and the best thing I can say is just play with it. Think of Lego. Like I did number 2 and number 6, I just took pieces and added them together. All the rest of these are no different, and that is it. To get proficient, ladies and gentlemen, you just have to get to number 8. If you get 8 done early, the next step is to challenge yourself and try and get to number 12 done. Well, you have yourself a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.